planning a very long trip. We're in Maine, and we're planning on following the Canadian border pretty much all the way across, maybe, and then making a short loop back a little bit south of that. We've got 60,000 miles on this camper, and there isn't too many places we haven't gone in the United States, and we've done a lot of Canada. Right now, the gas is high enough just to travel in the United States. We're probably kind of crazy for doing it, but it is time to get the camper ready. I've done some work on it. You may have followed my diesel heater installation, but right now there's a few odds and ends that I need to work on, and then I need to pack some of the major stuff, and then we'll go from there. This is my 2015 F-150. It's got a V8 in it, and this vehicle has been stellar, the best vehicle I have ever owned. But it's getting long in the tooth, it's getting older, so it's time for stuff to break down. I just hope that it doesn't after I get back. And this is a Windrose 2. We've had her since 2014, and we have tens of thousands of miles on her, and she too has been really good. Time to grease the wheels. I have a little plywood shield and a plastic bag to try to alleviate the mess on the driveway and on the wheel itself. This trailer has Zerk fittings to grease it, which makes it very convenient. You keep pumping out, and the old grease sort of oozes out around the bearing, and the new grease goes in. I use a combination of wash and wax formula in the pressure washer, and it's probably not as great as doing it by hand, but I do it often. It seems to work out pretty good. Well, this is just a little something I did. It just took a few minutes. This is the USB ports that we had. You can see there, get them right side up here. They're 2.0, and they were pretty good. They had, pretty fast charging, 2.1 amps. But everything is going to USB-C. So I now have, it's to focus, a USB 3 socket that has 2 USB-C and 1 USB-A. And these total 80 watts, so they're pretty fast charging, particularly one of them. And I do have others. I have this this inverter that I've had that has USB. So we have plenty of USB ports, but we needed the USB-C for the iPhone, and the computer takes that now, and even the watch charge. So everything is 3 now. Well, my next great feat of engineering, hardly, is something I've been wanting to do for a long time. This generator, which is wonderful, and which we almost never use, runs on propane or gasoline. I only run it on propane to keep it cleaner. Can, in the truck, tip over. And it doesn't happen much, but I did have it happen once, and the oil sort of drains into the air filter and makes a mess, and you got to clean things out, and I don't want that to do that again. So what I'm going to do is I am going to put a piece of plywood like this and mount the generator right across it, and put some of these D-shaped I-loop straps on here. And I've got some I get some straps with some friction buckles, so they don't ratchet. You just pull them and they lock. And this will go up over the generator, through the handle, and down the other side to another tie down. And this is just wide enough so that the generator wouldn't be able to tip over with this. And I also have a similar problem with my gas bottle. It's tipped over once, it doesn't spill, but as you know, these need to be, I'm sure you know, these need to be upright when traveling. And if they're on this side, it's not good. You can put them upright and they'll work after a while, but I want it to be upright all the time. So I want to make sort of the same thing for it. Well, I always try to anticipate any problems that I might find when I travel. And, I can't bring all the tools, but I might be able to bring enough to take care of a little electrical issue or maybe even an automotive issue. That's less likely, but you never know. So I have this old Union steel toolbox that I found at a thrift store for a couple of bucks. And I have one actually that I have up in the attic that I have some stuff in. But these are nicely made, American-made toolboxes. And, some of them are quite old. I think this one isn't too old, but it's pretty old. And I like to put a few things in it. One thing I like to put in it is a tire patch kit, which I started carrying after I picked up my first screw. That was a trip. We were in Newfoundland, about 100 miles from anywheres, and I kept having to pump the tire up every several miles in order to get someplace. And we ran across a Napa store that was just in the middle of nowhere. And I know if you've ever been to Newfoundland, Canada, there's some very, very, very rural areas there. We did a lot of boondocking. It was beautiful. There's some videos on it if you care to look for them. I carry a tire repair kit now for sure. And speaking of tires, something I also carry is this Via Air compressor. And this is a really good compressor. It's metal. And it's a piston-driven compressor. When you're pumping up a tire, it doesn't take forever. If you ever use a little, cheap Walmart one, you can actually burn it out trying to pump up, a tire up to 35 pounds of pressure. If it's very flat, it takes like a couple hours. This one isn't super fast like a regular large compressor, but it's a darn sight faster than those small plastic ones. And it has a very accurate gauge on it too, 12 volt. So these aren't inexpensive, but they really work nice. And when you do a lot of traveling, particularly boondocking, it can be handy to have either for the camper or for the tow vehicle. I also have this little device. which I'll pull it out. It's not much fun to get back in the bag, so definitely don't need it much. It is a Jumpstart power source, and it, you can buy them in various ratings. This capacity is 99 watts or 26,800 milliamps. So, it outputs 12 volts, and there are some USB ports on it too if you ever, want to charge something. Plugs into the side of this. You have your positive and negative clips, little USB connector, and you could start, a vehicle. If it has difficulty starting, you can start a vehicle several times with this. And USB, so it charges through a USB port afterwards. So, I really haven't really needed this yet, but when I do, I think I'll be glad I have it. Another thing that I never leave without is a grinder. And this one is battery operated. You could have something hanging off the trailer or the truck that you just may need to cut off temporarily until you can get someplace where you can fix it. I have a wheel lock for the trailer, so when we unhook, I can put the boot on. But if I ever lost the key, I would be stuck. This will grind it off. There are things that I use it for that I'm not even anticipating. So I just kind of always go with this in its case. I have a bunch of grinding wheels, and if I should ever need it, it could come in really handy. Now, I could bring whole kits of wrenches and ratchets and so forth, but there are a few sizes that are handy, and I will be putting a 1/2 inch and a 7/16 in here, which have a lot to do with the trailer. But if you have things like 2 different size crescent wrenches, pair of lock grip pliers, some vice grips, needle nose pliers, and some diagonal cutters. You can get by with a whole lot of stuff that might go wrong on the road. And the 7/16 and 1/2 inch wrench. And something that's very specific to me is I always bring 2 or 3 brazing rods. I've got a bunch of them and I don't braze anymore, but they're a very stiff wire, but you can bend it, and can come in very handy if you should need, a hanger for something that's hanging down in the truck, or something you want to hook something up. They don't fit really good in this box, but if I bow it, I can get it to fit. Razor knife, and believe it or not, a hammer, because you usually don't need a hammer, but if you do, then your crescent wrench becomes one, and don't tell me you haven't done that before. So a hammer is always kind of handy to have. And right here in the tray, I have this driver that will hold a bit, and the 2 bits that I have are Phillips and a number 2 square, which half the trailer is made with. They fit in the cap, and it goes in the box. And as every MacGyver knows, there's nothing you can't repair with duct tape. But that's a big thing to carry. And as most shop people know, there's not much you can't do with electrical tape. And if you have an electrical problem and you don't have a meter with you, life is not fun trying to diagnose an electrical problem without a meter. Is there power there? Isn't? Where does it start? Where does it end? Where did it go bad? So I have a little clamp meter, which is my meter of choice because it's really versatile. And that fits in the box. And of course a Phillips and a flathead screwdriver, of which I have no screws like this, but it makes a heck of a chisel or wedge or pry bar. Now, I could bring my driver for screws, I could bring a drill, could bring all kinds of stuff, but you know, chances are I won't need it. And if I do, it's probably going to be a job bigger than I want to do on the road, you know, without you know, the rest of my tools. So you bring what you think you might need, and hope for the best. Hopefully this will stay closed the entire trip. It is time to clean. I have little piles of sawdust from installing the diesel heater and then just general stuff. I cleaned it roughly at the end of the season last year, but now it's time to give it the once over for our trip. So I have the ultimate vacuum cleaner for cleaning cars and campers and stuff. It just works amazingly. I'll show it to you later. Right now, it's actually outside, so. What is this marvelous vacuum cleaner? It's this one over here. It's the Ego Shop Vac. And what's nice about it is it doesn't weigh a ton and it's got a battery. So I bring it out, bring it in, and it's mostly, I don't use it as a shop vac. I got plenty of stuff for that out there. This is actually my household vac because it works so good on hard floors. All my floors are mostly hardwood and tile. It's just, the suction is tremendous, and it rolls really good. The battery, you know, it's not a little drill battery like you see in some uprights and stuff. This is the Ego battery. I can put up to a 12 amp in there. I have a 5 now, which is plenty. But the suction is like a shop vac. In turbo mode, it's quite amazing. It's got tons of tools and it's all self-contained. It's just really nice. You know, most of my gasoline tools are really all Ego now. I have the generators, that's all I have left. Suction is wonderful for anything, but the vacuum cleaner isn't good for carpets. There's no brush on it. But the problem with rugs is that once you stick this on there, it doesn't want to let go. I'll turn it down a little bit, I think. This is a new TV I installed last year, and I'm scanning for channels to make sure everything's working okay, and also that my movies downloaded and play good on the TV that's on the thumb drive. It's plugged in the back. We got a lot more stuff in the cupboard, and brought the fans out. We don't have air conditioning, but these fans actually do pretty good. They're USB. They're charging now. There's on the bed, there's one for myself, one for Joyce. New blender. And for those of you who watched my video about installing the diesel heater and wondering about carbon monoxide, here is my carbon monoxide detector. It is at 0 right now. And I have my new battery, fresh battery, smoke and fire detector. The carbon monoxide one is a 10-year lithium battery, by the way. So we are now safe in that area because there is the vent for the diesel heater. I got it pretty good here. I have the generator mounted and the gas bottle, propane bottle, toolbox back there, and grinder. That tub contains sawdust for the composting toilet. We always bring some soda. And this is an extra cook stove and some odds and ends, gas bottles, so forth and so on. Still a bit more to go, though. We'll be about ready to take off in a couple of days. Where we're going, we're in Maine now, and we'll be going west across the northern border of the United States. we'll be hitting New Hampshire first, cutting across that, then Vermont. We'll be going to New York, where we'll visit our daughter in the Albany area. And then we'll cut across west till we hit Niagara Falls, where the Canadian border is. And it'll be a 3-hour trek across some Canadian territory until we hit Michigan. We're planning on traveling up the east side of Michigan, because I've done the west side quite a few times, but I've never done the east. And we'll hit the Upper Peninsula, for those of you who know what that is. The Yupers are up there. And we will eventually reach Wisconsin, and from there Minneapolis, and then North Dakota and Montana. And I don't know if we're going to go further than that, or if we're going to turn around at that point. I'm not quite sure. When we travel, we like to see scenery, of course, stay some nice places, but we enjoy visiting some museums, Air Force or naval museums. We've been to presidential libraries, battlefields, whatever's of interest. The Star Trek Museum in New York, stuff like that. And I understand that North Dakota is famous for its dinosaur fossils. And there are a few places there where we might visit to see what they've got. Old science teacher here, so that kind of stuff interests me, as it should anybody, I think. On the way back, we'll either take a northerly route or a southerly route. And by that, I mean a little bit northerly or a little bit southerly. If we go southerly, it would be coming back through South Dakota, Nebraska, something like that, cutting across just south of where we went going up. And if we take a northerly route, it would be through Canada. But that looks less and less unlikely, even though I would love to do it, because in my experience in traveling through the maritime provinces, whatever the gas is here, it's almost double there. So if it's $4.50 here, it's going to be maybe $8 or $8.50 up there, and that would be a bit much to to double the price of the gas on the return trip. Doing some quick research, though, I found out that there's $7.75 a gallon gasoline up there translates to about $5.50 to $5.75 here in the States with the exchange rate. So the Canadian tour might still be a thing. And it's sad to say, but we may have to come back through the United States instead of Canada. It's not that I really need to do that, except we've traveled that route before, but the northerly route over the border coming back we haven't done, and I would dearly love to do that, but I don't think it's going to happen. As far as gas is concerned, my truck has a very large gas tank, 36 gallons, so we can do about 800 miles on a tank of gas, but when you're towing the trailer, it really cuts down to about 450. So the wind resistance on a trailer takes a lot of fuel. We anticipate from my calculations that it'll be about $1,500 to $1,700 in gasoline, but that probably will actually be closer to $2,000, because you always end up meandering more than you expected. It isn't just a straight out shot trip. The places we're planning on staying, well, we love to boondock. And if we're up in Canada, there'll be lots of it. You can stay all different kinds of places up there. We've seen some spectacular sites up there, just boondocking. But in the United States, boondocking really doesn't really kick in until you get more out west. So it would be a little bit towards the end of the drive out that we might start finding some of that. So it'll be state parks, and if we did any boondocking, if you want to call it that, it would be like Cracker Barrels or maybe some truck stops. I'm not really keen on Walmarts and stuff. That's just an emergency thing, but the other ones aren't too bad. I'd rather stay in a wilderness area, of course, but those work in a pinch. And some Cracker Barrels are really nice. They're very accommodating. The amount of time that we anticipate will be at least 2 weeks, but it could run into more. So we won't be back sometime until the 2nd or 3rd week of June. And we're starting out in the last week of May. So we'll miss part of the summer here at the lake, but we really love a good road trip. We really do. And I'm anxious to get started in a couple days. Joyce and I will post videos as we go along. I can't say they're going to be like clockwork on a certain day, but there will be a bunch of them depending on where we go. If I end up at a Cracker Barrel, heck, I might even do one of those so that anyone who's never been can see what it's like. Hopefully we will post in some really nice areas. That's the plan anyway. And points of interest that we see. We're using AI this time around to try to get us a little more information. I know that as we've traveled, we've seen a lot of stuff in the last 60,000 miles in this camper. But I'm sure there's lots that we've missed. And with the AI programs and my personal assistant, Moneypenny, who is AI, they seem to be able to pick out anything you want on a route. You just have to ask. So at least it'll probably give us more options to choose from. So we'll see you out there, and look for the posts, because there'll be more.